Hello, ladies and germs. Get it? I said germs instead of gents. It's a joke. I don't really think you're germs. Hi, I'm Josh Foreman. I'm in a new space. As you can tell from the crazy echoes, I have not set up hardly anything in my studio. Right now it's mostly blank cabinets and walls and such. So we'll get there. I just kind of set up a little workstation for startsies for now. And yeah, I'm happy to start doing my first real bit of art here in the new space. I do a lot of sculpture and environment work. Here's a little guy that I made. This is a hand wizard. See, what they do is they go and they have to magically slay a giant, and then once they do that, they lop off the hand, connect these power gems to each of the knuckles, which have a corresponding power gem on their little gauntlet here. And then whatever they do with their little gauntleted hand, it puppets the necrotic giant hand, and they use it to run around and joust with other wizards and big monsters and stuff. You don't hear echoes? Oh, well, good. I hear echoes, but if you don't, I'm happy to hear that. Anyway, that's my hand wizard. It was a proposal for a video game back when I was working at Outrage Entertainment. We finished up Descent 3 and Descent 3 Mercenary, and we're like, what's the next game we're going to make? And so I proposed a couple, and that was one of them. Anyway, I do other just artsy-fartsy sculpture type stuff too. This is like a Rapunzel type of character maybe, I don't know. Here's my favorite beverage that has ever existed. Also probably the most gross and base taste you can possibly have. Diet Pepsi, Jazz, strawberries and cream. Anyway, I was inspired to make a monster based on that flavor, and this is it. I was using this stuff called Cosclay, which is flexible after you bake it, which is super, super cool. I have videos of all this stuff on my YouTube channel if you want to check that stuff out. This is Skola. He's a character from my books. You should also check out The Scarred King, available on Amazon. Okay, let's get to work. Cosplay is the bomb. It's kind of like working with gummy bomb at first, but you kind of get used to it. Here's what I want to do. I want to carve a cliff right now that I'm going to put as my backdrop. So I stream from two different locations, and in my new house they're further separated, but there's still two kind of basic locations. One is my computer setup where I'm doing like ZBrush, Photoshop. You know, basically it's showing the screen of my computer while I sculpt or do art. And then the other is here in my physical studio where I'm making physical things. But I like to bring a little bit of that physicality to my face cam for the other room. So my idea is I've got a couch that I stream from. I have all my desktop gear set up so it swings out in front of me, and so I spend all day doing my day job on that couch, and then also whenever I stream up there, I'm on that couch. So I like to make the background kind of fun and creative. What I did previously was I put this green kind of fuzzy blanket over the back of my couch, and it kind of looked like rolling hills, and then I made a little shelf behind me where I put statues, where I'm like, here's some of my art. But I'm going to take it a step further. I have now behind me there's a half wall that goes up maybe a foot above the couch, and so I was thinking I could make it, and then there's a ledge that's about maybe a foot wide, whatever, which would be perfect for putting sculptures, books, whatever I want back there. And I thought, hey, now that I've been working on all these rock making skills, you can see there it is back there. So this stuff, XPS foam, I thought it'd be really cool to make a backdrop that makes it look like I'm sitting in front of an epic landscape of like a carved cliff and whatever. Anyway, so what I figured I need was about 6 feet wide and then about a little over like maybe 1.5 feet tall. And I happen to have a board just about those proportions, so I'm going to start carving on that today, right here, right now. And let's see how far we can get. Here's our beautiful pink boy. I had it designated for the room size diorama that I'm building for my Colossus, but I can easily cut another piece this size later. I happen to have this on hand for today, and so I'm happy to get started on this right now. One thing I'm realizing now as I'm starting to set it up is I need a little more space, which I can do by rotating my table. Hopefully nothing falls apart. No. Excellent. Nothing fell apart. Okay. Let's see. So we want... Come on, camera. Cooperate. Let's see. Maybe if I get a little higher up. Okay. That'll work. So. Hi, Indivies. I wonder... you know what? I do not actually need a keyboard here right now. I don't need to type anything. I can just talk to you guys through the miracle of technology. Kind of clear my speakers off. Oh, you know what? I could even put my monitor back. I could have this entire table. Oh my God, guys. This entire table to work on. So exciting. I just have to move you guys back a touch. Okay, yeah, everything's good. Nothing's gonna fall off. This is my pro rig setup right now. What do you guys think of that? Pretty nice, huh? So, I do want to have my mouse here. All right, so when it comes to planning, one thing that is kind of nice. So, oh man, this is the annoying part of setting up a new studio, is refiguring out A, where everything is, and then B, where it should be. Because I have no idea where my pens are. Oh, is that a pencil? Is that a pencil? It is! Look at that! It's a pencil. Okay, cool. So I can start making some basic sort of ideas on here. Essentially, I'm wanting just a flat cliff wall, but cliffs are never actually just perfectly flat, right? So I want to do like some kind of directional flow lines to it, some sort of features of some sort. And of course, I don't have my reference around here either. That's another thing I'm going to be working on, is having a way to have my reference like close at hand at all times. So I'm just going to kind of freehand it. Just get some ideas out on here. I'm starting in this area because, well, I think I'm kind of centered on it. Yeah, that would make sense. I should be centered on it. And it's going to go past, obviously, where the camera picks it up, or that would ruin the illusion. Illusion, Michael. An illusionist. Let's see. And then I think I have a tendency, once I establish a direction, to just keep it directional the entire time, because finding ways to not rectify, what is the word? Reconcile different kind of flows. It's tricky. It's just kind of like an advanced technique. Maybe it's intermediate, and I'm just not even to intermediate yet. We'll see. This is where reference would come in really handy, but we'll make do. Okay, I think this is a good sort of starting point. And the idea being that wherever I drew these faint lines, I'm thinking these are the kind of deepest crevices. Write down everything in a database and then search pencil. It shows me. That'd be hilarious. Pencil. Locate pencil. Okay, so with that done, I've got my variety of carving tools here, along with a bunch of other miscellaneous stuff that just got thrown in here. But right now I'm just looking for kind of a longish blade, a long straight or flat blade, which I know I have in here. Here's a serrated. There's my regular, just kind of paring knife. And that has that kind of weird tip dealy to it. I'm not super excited about that. That's what I was looking for. Okay, cool. And I just have my sharpener here. We'll see how many of these tools we can use today. Yeah, I need some chain link gauntlets to rummage through that box, don't I? Okay, let's start over here, because I think this is kind of the safest place to just kind of get our bearing, kind of remember best techniques. So if I cut at an angle, try not to put my hand here while cutting this way. And I'm also trying to be very analog about it, in that I don't want like all the lines to be equal thickness or angle. I want that kind of organic nature to come through. In some places there's going to be long, fairly straight clefts. In others they're going to be all jaggy and whatever. And the more that you pry and chip, the more sort of jaggy you're going to get. And then in places where you can kind of keep a smooth flow all the way through, you get less jaggy. Here's a question for you. How many of you remember the old NES game Contra? The very first level in that game, you're in the jungle, and there's these cliff rock faces that, as a little kid, blew my little kid mind with how dimensional the rocks seemed. Because there was like very defined shape to their pattern. It wasn't just kind of noisy, pixely garbage like so many NES game rocks were. It always had kind of a subconscious impact on my work, I think. They're very faceted, you know, overly faceted and clean, but given the, you know, what the limitations they had to work with, I think it was kind of the best you can do with that. But I always think of those rocks when I'm at this stage because I end up with these very overly clean, faceted shapes. But by the time you apply all the different techniques, that goes away. One of the really interesting things about the backdrop, the wall behind my couch, is that it has some, would they be like shadow boxes almost? Like the wall has little boxy things with a cleft in where you could put, you know, some books or a little knick-knack or whatever. And so it'd be really cool to utilize that to have an area where it actually like custom fits into that, and there could be a niche in the rock where there's some kind of cool thing can go there. You weren't allowed to have shooter games as a kid. Ah. Did you have The Adventures of Lolo at least? That was a pretty good puzzler, as I recall. But hey, mission accomplished. You did not end up as a gangster or a school shooter, right? So, good on your parents. Unlike all us other kids who played those shooter games. Alright, so now that I've got... Mario and Zelda. The original Legend of Zelda is definitely one of my touchstone games, as you can see there. That's my collection of Legend of Zelda figures I've sculpted over the years, based not on what they looked like in the instruction manual or subsequent games, but just how I imagined them as a kid. Think we have like a hard cleft in one area. I like to give some shallow areas as a contrast. And by shallow, I mean the angle at which one plane intersects another. Foam always dulls knives really fast. Don't know why I wasn't setting this down. And sometimes the way that I'm sawing and hacking at things, it'll start, a general like flow to the stone will start to emerge that I like. I'm like, maybe I should lean into this, see what happens if I repeat that, but with a little more deliberation. Because you know, at the start it's just about establishing your large features, not so much the granular, you know, the secondary and tertiary forms. Oh, I know what I should do. I should get a smaller, more, all of my snap-off blades have snapped off at this point. Oh, snap, as they say. That's what the kids say these days, right? Oh, snap. Huh, I can't find my smaller knife. Let's see how this one treats me. It's very, I'm not even sure what this is for. I found it at the hardware store. It's a terrifying looking blade. It's got some very specific function. But every different kind of shape that a blade has is going to have different effects on your foam. And so just having a variety will bring about more happy accidents, you know? Gen Z is always saying, oh snap, it's the bomb. Word to your mother. That's what they're all saying. Crazy Gen Z kids. Look at that nice little moving battle wound I got. Ugh. I'm a wreck, you guys. I was doing 16-hour days for about a week and a half of heavy manual labor, cleaning and repairing the place we moved out of. And yeah, now I've got like a sore throat and runny nose. I'm like, oh, I'm not sick. I'm not sick. No, I can't be sick. And then it's a linoleum knife, you say. Okay. I'll believe it. Honestly, you could tell me it's a toilet knife and I would probably believe you, so here's your chance to really pull one over on me. Now that I am a homeowner, I was renting before and now I own to the extent that you can own when you took out a loan. How is that considered owning? Like, I don't own this place. I own, you know, a couple $1,000s of it, like 5% of it. Anyway, yeah, I've been trying to do upgrades to the place, and I have very little experience doing that sort of thing. So was it yesterday? Yeah, no, the day before yesterday, I was drilling to try to get, I'm trying to get away. Look at that hole right there. I punched that hole in the ceiling so that I could run Ethernet cable up from here to the thing because the cable company couldn't do what I was hoping they'd be able to do. So that goes up like through my brother's room and then out the wall to where the modem's gonna be, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I've been cutting and drilling through the walls. I've got the fancy stud finder that can also see metal and wire and stuff like that. But somehow I managed to still drill directly into a power line and like, you know, big spark. Lucky I didn't die. but it killed power to our refrigerator, microwave, security system. So now's the perfect time to break in. If you guys know where I live, go ahead and just break right in. No, I'm just kidding. We got it back. I have an acquaintance who is a foreman at an electrician company, and he stopped by and just checked it out and poked at the fuse box and looked at the damage and tested out, you know, with his little testy doohickeys, and was like, honestly, if this was my place, I'd just leave it. It still works. He thinks what happened is because I went in at an angle, it connected two of the wires, you know, because there's like 4 wires braided through there and the ground. And so if the drill bit touched 2 of those wires at once, it would cause, you know, an electric connection between the 2. Pop goes the fuse box, and everything shut off. And I was like, oh my god, you know, if I turn it back on, is it going to start a fire? Is it going to blow up? You know, who knows? This is probably going to cost thousands of dollars because it's like right next to the hardwood stairs. We'll have to rip everything out, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, just leave it. It's fine. Because the place where I hit the wire is inside a 2x4 piece of wood, right? So it's like they drilled a hole through the wood, ran the wire through it, and then my drill went into the wood, and where I guess it couldn't, my stud finder couldn't perceive the wire, hit it. So it's just like there's this drill hole that goes through it and broke the insulation, and then boom. But apparently it's fine. So anyway, forks and spoons for toilets? Yes, that's what they're called, I believe. All tools that you use to work on toilets are called forks or spoons. Anyway, that's my adventures in home owning so far. No, wait, that's not it. Here's another fun thing. The former owner was a plumber, and I think he had the inside scoop on some stuff, including $5,000 toilets. So we have these Toto bidet toilet things, which in theory, great. Okay, whatever. I can learn to live with that. Here's the problem. We did some research. We kept noticing this smell. It's like asparagus pee or warmed up urine or something in the bathroom. And we're like, is this place actually clean? Clean. Smell doesn't go away, and it kind of wafts in and out. So these toilets actually do, like, they have heated seats, and they have like vents that they blow on your little tushy when you're done. You know what I mean? Like, they've got all these crazy things on them, but they are made out of this plastic, and if you wash them with bleach, why wouldn't you wash the toilet with bleach? That kills germs, right? Well, apparently if you wash it with bleach, it erodes the protective film or whatever that's over the plastic, and then any fluids that touch that plastic soak into it, which means the plastic seat is infused with urine, not ours, I mean previous owner's urine, and then heats it up every time the toilet is activated, which it's like has this automatic sensor, so every time you walk in the bathroom it like does a little spritz and a little like, I don't know, whatever it's doing, it's like essentially farting awful smell into the bathroom, and it wafts out into the hallway and the rest of the house. And so we get to deal with that too. Home ownership, not very fun so far. One thing I wanted to try, this is reminding me, one thing I wanted to try with a clip is doing some, let's see if I have any in, is doing some kind of sheets that are flaked off. You know, they could stick out. I can just attach it, shape it, and then carve it down. So I think I'm going to leave some of these areas flat as a test bed for that. Anyone know anything about knife sharpening? Can you actually go both directions, or does that ruin the knife if you do that? I don't know. I'm sure it depends on the sharpener and the blade. I've never got to the point where I sharpen a knife and I'm like, oh yeah, that's so much better. It's like, maybe that's 15% better. Do I actually have a trash can in here? Hold on a second. Yeah, I do. Trash cans, super useful when you're cutting foam. Who would have thought? Last night I was planning out the new studio where I would put different kind of workstations and tools and stuff like that. And one of the things that working on this foam is making me remember is, or well, it's making me consider, is I wonder if there's some kind of a work surface that you could work on large pieces of foam and have, cut them apart and stuff, and have the scraps fall into an easily like scoop upable bin or something. That would be really useful. All right, what do I do with a large flattish area like so? I could keep cutting lines in it, but eventually it starts getting really samey. When I look at reference of cliffs, there are usually areas of like visual noise and busyness, and areas of rest where it seems like nice and flattish. But again, it's never like truly, really flat. But from a distance, it's perceived as more flat than others. Like I did that on this piece. I chose a few areas where I was like, okay, this area right here, I left that rock fairly smooth. It still has a crevice in it and stuff, but like compared to that area, you know what I mean? It's much smoother. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is find a way to mix those two kind of elements together. So if I've got a line going up here and a line going up here, and they're almost parallel. I feel like doing something that's close to it, but then like zings off, is probably going to help break up an overly formulaic look. Oh, X-Acto knife. Where did I put that? I just had it. I was like thinking to myself, I need to get this out of the way. And then I thought to myself, do I have a trash can? And between those two thoughts, it completely disappeared. Huh. I wonder where I put it. Oh well. It's a soldier. Oh, you know what I should try? I just thought of what I should try. Okay. Try this thing where I just kind of cut in a couple different, mostly similar angled lines. And then through the process of sort of pulling out chunks between these, again trying to vary the depth of them, and get some potentially more subtle topography. Topology? Topology. Topography is landmass, up and down elevation. Topography is a branch of mathematics, but also applies to the mesh shapes of 3D meshes for computer graphics. And I don't know which one is more applicable to, you know, putting texture on a flat surface. To be honest, I don't know. Feel like this line here should not be like super straight. Okay, now this is upsetting me. I've got to find my X-Acto knife, or you know, one of the 12 that I have that are hidden. Gosh knows where. Let's try this one. Better to get more natural edge there. I'm getting caught up on my secondary forms right now, but that's just because I feel like I'm not super confident in my primary forms until I get a sense, because I don't think I've ever done like a huge flat surface before. It's a lot easier when it's wrapping around a 3D form, so I'm kind of guessing as I go to see what I think is going to work best. This actually work for this. No stabby stabby. Have enough wounds already. This foam is, I believe, 1 inch. I think that's 1 inch. Is it 3/4? It feels 1 inch-ish to me. Oh, look. It is 1 inch. If I accidentally cut all the way through it, I don't think that's a big deal. It's pretty easy to just put a black patch in the back. But I'm kind of being a little conservative with it until I'm more confident. Now I'd like to continue some clefts from, if I consider this to be a feature, let's just call this a feature, and then this is a feature, or maybe cells. A cell is a better way to look at it. So we've got cell, 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 and I don't want the direction to just be like random in all of them and going off in crazy different directions, because ultimately on a large like cliff face, it's a huge chunk of magma deep beneath the earth was kind of hardened all together. There will be different chemical compositions throughout it, but as it raises up and starts to weather and crack and stuff like that, there are going to be consistent fissures that run through the entire material quite often. And so I want to make sure that these don't feel like blocks of stone that on a castle wall that have been put together, right? And in order to get that monolithic rock feel, there needs to be a coherent sort of some element that ties the different cells together. Look at that, I got a little boo-boo already. Well, I only did half of that, Quindy. Did not hack through it, but I did manage to stab myself. Another vein search for an exacto until I find something else that distracts me. I have like 20 of them. Where did they all go? And I had them all together in my little tool wheelie McWheelie. Aha! Aha! There we go. Oh, and of course it's like super dull. You know what? Out of curiosity, can I sharpen an X-Acto blade? I don't think I can, but why not try? You know, that may have actually done something. Yeah, it probably happened when you stepped away for a water bottle. Your protective aura was too far away from me. I believe it's 20 units of protective aura that you provide to all the crafters that you mod for, and when you step away, they lose that protective field. Here's another thing. Kind of gives a more wood type of texture, but you can use it to kind of start some lines and then go in and pluck bits out. This is where I would love to be able to have a consistently sharp blade. That is one of the next steps in my foam carving education journey. How do I keep or attain consistently sharp blades? So I have that sharpener. I have an electric one too that I've been using. And neither of them, hold on, I'm going to try it again real quick and just see what happens. Okay, Quindy, you didn't go far enough. You know, if you had gone further, I may have ended up stabbing myself in the jugular, so it's not that bad. You know, this little area, it's right next to a vein, but it didn't actually puncture the vein, so I'm not too upset. So that part does the main sharpening, but it leaves little burrs, and then you're supposed to use this part to get rid of said burrs. Let's see if that helped. Does this mean I can do a cleaner cut? Considerably. Yeah, see this edge where it tears as it goes? The duller your knife is, the more of those little triangular tears you're going to get. You just need to be like the Amazon employees who just pee in the bottle. It's fine. I think I may have seen Reaper John do that on the fulfillment stream a couple weeks ago. It's quite a sweatshop they were running there. You just need to grow whatever flowers thrive with urine instead of water. There's got to be some, right? See, being able to pull a nice clean line like that is awesome. So I think that sharpener actually did a thing. I assume with experience, I'll get to know like how many little drags over this tool are necessary to get my blade to be optimal Sharpie sharpness. Yeah, John seems like the type who would be hard to convince that toilets are real. I mean, it really does sound made up if you explain it to someone. Can't. Interesting. Once I pierced the skin of the foam, it's like, oh, I wonder. So here. Skin is all messed up from my brush tool. It seems like I can drag the blade through easier, but it's gonna catch and tear on the skin more than it does the soft flesh beneath. Oh yeah, another thing to try is to do cross-cutting. Yeah, let me tell you, I've killed quite a bit of cereal lately. I can definitely give you some good tips on that. They had a sale at my grocery store where you had to get 4 of one kind of cereal to get it for like $1.50 a box. And so I got way too much of this bizarre like caramel macchiato cereal with like little marshmallows. It's basically like Cocoa Puffs with caramel vanilla marshmallow bits. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous, and I got way too much of it. I managed to kill almost a whole box in the past couple of days. Let's see, another thing that's nice that I don't know where it is right now is a little like not soft but medium haired brush. Oh, you know what? I could literally just use a brush. Look at this. Get that little detritus and boogers off of there that way. Not much of a cereal. Eating is one of my crimes against humanity. I gained 10 pounds in the last couple of months from all the stress of like having to move and moving, cleaning. So I'm kind of a wreck right now. I can't eat many carbs without gaining weight very fast. And cereal. So my go-to like sinful foods are donuts, cereal, and toast. Oh, pancakes and waffles. Oh, so good. And there they are. I don't know if you can hear them or not, but yeah, I brought this up last time. I found out that the trash pickup is the same day, same time at at this house as it was at the other, which happens to be my weekly Reaper Miniatures stream time. Amazing. I feel like it's a little quieter here. Curiosity, if I start using some compressive textures at this point, does that buy me anything? I don't. That's right. Garbage truck is this stream's spirit animal. Not the same without it. Let's do something cool with this patch here. At some point I wonder, like, if just taking separate pieces, doing the carving or, you know, sanding or whatever on them and then gluing them together would be a better way to go, but let's say for strength it definitely would not be as good. Another thing that I had tried, and I don't know where, I tried a electric knife, you know, that does the little whatever happened with that experiment, I do not remember. But that also reminds me, I do have a sonic cutter, which I paid real good money for, but I think the longest blade is like that long. It'd be really cool to get a knife this long to do that. You know, I could use a heated element, but that just leaves a very different surface. Although, now that I'm saying out loud, once I start putting in the secondary and tertiary forms and textures, maybe it doesn't even make a difference. That's a good thing to try next. Add cereals to the sugar. You drink a sugar cube in milk. That sounds good. Yeah, so as a kid, my dad's a dentist, and as a kid, we didn't have any of those sugar cereals either. So every time I would spend the night with my friends, I would, eat an entire box of Lucky Charms. I'm sure their parents adored me. So this is a pretty cool effect that I'm getting right here, where because I'm cutting it at this angle but multiple times, I'm getting these fun little flappy doodles here which catch the light in an interesting way. Yeah, you couldn't see it better from that angle. I'm cutting at two different angles at once. I'm cutting up into, it's impossible to really illustrate with the camera in one place, but yeah, it's giving me a pretty good result. Pretty happy with that. Into these, yeah, you can go in peace now that you've heard Flappy Doodle. I have no idea what's going to happen when I pop this bad boy off, but I'm dying to find out. Find out. Not so fast, it's saying. It's a little more time to stew on this little fracture we're creating. Whew. making contact with a large part of the blade to get this deep at this shallow of an angle. But yeah, I am certainly feeling less resistance right after I sharpen it, so it's good to know it's doing something. Sharpening, that is. Yeah, I like that. I don't know if it was worth the amount of time it took me. You know, one of the things that I'm seeing that's sort of emerging as I do this is that things that look like pretty good cliff, flaking and fracturing could probably be emulated by simply stacking together multiple thin sheets and then angling them in some way or another, breaking them off, and it's composing them together onto a flat surface that I'm still kind of trying to puzzle out in my head if that's something that's doable. Try this thing real quick. See if I can get rid of some of the boogers without losing my nice sharp little fracture detail, and I don't think there's a way to do both, sadly. Once I get close enough to melt the boogers, it's also smoothing out the part that I like. Well, that makes me curious. After a piece is melted, it kind of reskins it, right? So I wonder then, if you go in and like poke at it, is it going to act differently enough in those melty spots that some other effect can be achieved? I don't know what the effect would be. You know, maybe it would pop off in the shape of that melty bit. Does not seem to be the case. Interesting. And I scrape along areas where it's been kind of melted. These darker patches are places where it's melted. It doesn't pull up the boogers. I don't know if I can get the camera close enough to where you can see what I'm talking about by boogers. So specifically, like there on the tip of my blade, there's a booger, right? And the more you scrape, the more of these little raised bits you're gonna get. And that's just not something you see on cliffs. You don't see raised bits. You see little pock marks where, you know, like the inverse of a pebble, but you don't see pebbles sitting on a cliff face, just like sticking out of it. And that is the one part of this foam that doesn't really capture rock fracturing and stuff realistically. There are lots of things that it does really well in that regard, but that is something I'm still trying to figure out the best techniques for either avoiding or cleaning up after I've made them. One thing that I learned when doing this mountain back here is that after you paint on the first coat of Mod Podge, you can then sand it, and that will sand off the boogers, but it also has some other disadvantages, right? That's right, this stream is known for extreme close-ups on boogers. Everyone's favorite. That's why they pay me the big bucks. Okay, so I've got this big flat spot. I think I'm going to try my little test. I'm pretty sure I've got a piece of flat-ish foam. Like so. Obviously using a different color is not ideal because that just makes it harder to kind of perceive what you're doing while you're working with it. It doesn't make a difference after it's painted, but it's what I have on hand right now. So. Doing it live. And the neat thing about working on a separate element that you attach later is that it's way easier to, you know, do cool things at different angles because you got it in your little hand parts. Ideally, this blade would be so sharp I could run it along like this and just have it slice cleanly. But we do not live in that world. That reminds me, let's see if we can get different fun effects with pressing as opposed to slicing. And recently I moved my black Mod Podge mix from one place where it was in the way to another place where it would be out of the way. It'd be so cool if I could just slap that on at the end of this stream just to get a sense for how this could work together. Just doing a couple different. Here's a thought. Can't find my little sheets, so I shall make a few little sheets. Is indeed a Proxon Trashorama. Not sure why I'm having trouble with it catching. Oh, trash is gonna make me cut myself, is that what you're saying? Do a couple a little bit thicker. Now, do I have toothpicks anywhere? I doubt it. Doubt it. It would be great to be able to just kind of stick my pieces down as I work. You know what? It might cut and toast your cheese at the same time. That's kind of an amazing thought. So what if we had?
find one of those metal L's we were talking about?
L's. Be more specific.
Put it in the guitar and then twist it.
Oh. I think I found the container that had a bunch of them.
Do you have air conditioning in here?
I do not.
Aren't you miserable right now?
It is not comfortable in here yet.
Wait, where did you say?
I'm not sure where I saw it, or I think it's in the basement room somewhere.
Oh, cool.
Just look somewhere, you'll find it. Wonder if pre-texturing a little bit. I don't even think I have glue to stick these down right now. Double drat. But I do think this is promising. I think when next we meet, you'll see how this ended up. And if you want to see the rest of the process of it coming together, you'll have to check out my Josh Foreman Twitch channel. But we are at that point of the day where it's time to start looking to raid someone else. Look at my socials up there: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Patreon, etc. it's all up there if you want to support me personally. Also, please check out my fantasy adventure novel series. Currently a series, there are 2 of them. A 3rd one is coming, called The Scarred King. Yeah, and so I'm just gonna keep making flakes until Quimby finds us someone cool to raid. I'll see you guys next week. Hopefully with a, if not completely completed studio, a much closer to completed studio.